do our back. So you're gonna take the roller, same thing always, we're gonna bend our knees, feet are on the ground. We're gonna put our roller to where when we lay back, that the roller is right below our shoulder blade. So that's one way to check. It's in the thick part of your lower ribs, right about T12, might be another way to say that, right? And then get comfortable. I want you to tuck your pelvis, lay your hips back down, find your core. Your brain should always be thinking, be a curve into the roller, not straight out over the roller, right? Always think about that. My hands are gonna go up here and just support my neck. I like to use a little cue to put a tennis ball or a grapefruit or a softball, something that underneath your chin, because we tend to have a tendency to pull our chin straight down to the chest. We don't want to do that. I want to think length of my spine. So I'm going to keep my chin open. I'm going to keep this space open in my chin. The difference of our elbows, when we first start, I keep my elbows out normal and relaxed. I'm just supporting the base of my skull. When we work up into the upper back, you'll hear me cue you to bring the elbows around to the front of your face, simply because my arms are back, my shoulder blade is blocking my rib wall, right? When I bring my elbow around, and I might even cue you to activate the elbow towards the ceiling, that gets the shoulder blade out of the way so you can get more onto the rib wall and get all of the soft tissue that we need, the fascial layers that we need to get slipping and sliding and hydrating in there, right? So here we go. We're gonna walk your feet as close to your hips as you comfortably can. We're supporting our head, neck is lifted. Find my core, my ribs stay solid, and I'm gonna lift just enough to clear the ground and bring my hips to my feet and then push back up. The roller is gonna go up and down, and then I'm gonna tilt a little. I push in my right foot to tilt to the left. So I'm always working just a couple inches, or maybe you would say here, a couple vertebrae at a time, 3 to 5 out to the left, a couple of times back to center. Sit my hips back down because the roller likes to creep up. Reset my feet again, lift up, start again. Hips to feet, shift a little. I'm shifting to the right side of my spine by pushing into my left foot, and I'm thinking push up a curve into the roller and back down. Up into the curve and back down. That's gliding, right? I'm gonna reset my roller here just for the camera. Real time of doing a shear, I'm gonna break these two things down first because it's a little hard for you to hear me when I'm doing it. So I would glide first, and then my shear is always thinking engage the core. I would typically be on one side or the other when I shear. And it's just a little twist. So think pin the skin into the roller, and then think about my ribs being a washboard. This is where I would bring my forearm around, get a little more to the rib wall, get the shoulder blade and the lats a little out of the way. But you're gonna see people that are gonna try to do this whole big dance. We wanna stay quiet from the ribs down, keep the core engaged, keep my curve, and just pin the skin and twist, right? As we work up higher, my shears are gonna add a little bit of an indirect shear. I can wing the arm in and out. I can reach the arm in and out. Those are my different layers of shears. So you have to think about in life, we tend to be very protracted. So all of the tissue in the back is overstretched and taut and weak. We're just hydrating all of those layers. When we get up towards the shoulder blade, we might find those knots that people like to say they have. That's when we'll do more active moving the shoulder blade around so we can get deeper into tissue that way. So now I'm gonna put it all together. We're gonna work 3 sections up the back. You don't always have to do 3 sections up the back. Maybe it's a day you want to do more upper body and shoulder things. Maybe I just do a section lower in the mid ribs, and then I go all the way up as close to my neck as I can, but still on the back. You can mix that up. You can just do one right in the middle. It just depends on what your intention is for that class, all right? So let's do it real time. All right, I'm gonna invite you to lay back, right about the bra line, and make sure that your shoulder blade's clear, so the bottom of my shoulder blade's clear, the top of the roller. I'm gonna support my head, relax my hands comfortably, or my elbows comfortable. I'm gonna find my core, walk my feet close to my hips, lift up my hips just enough to be off the ground, not all the way flat. And here we go. I'm gonna bring my hips towards my feet and then push up into the roller into a curve and back again. I'm gonna push through my right foot, shift my weight to the left, up and down, turn a little more. Every glide is turning a little more. And then I'm gonna come back to the center, but I'm gonna sit my hip down and do my little shear right here. So a little twist. You'll notice I'm only moving just from the ribs up, right? Not a full body twist. And then I'm gonna come back, reset my feet, lift my hips, glide up and down, and then push through my left foot, shift my weight to the right side of my spine, up and down, turn a little, up and down, roll a little bit to the side, so a different spot each time I glide, and then back. Found a nice little place there that's kind of tender on me, so I'm gonna sit my hips down, find my curve, push my curve this way into the curve of the roller that way, pin that spot, and just do a little twist. So I'm pinning the skin, trying to get the layers on the inside to slip and slide off of each other. Here, I might actually find that it's helpful for me to wing my arm in and out. If that's available to you, try that. Maybe even reach my arm. Right? The more aware you become of your body, you may not be a spot that you need to always put an indirect shear, but I felt a little tenderness there. So I'm gonna come back, reset my feet, and then start my glide. Now, if you're gliding correctly, the roller's moving up, so I'm a little bit higher between my shoulder blades now. Up and down, shift my weight to the left. There's a tendency for people to want to flatten out their back, be straight on the roller. Just constantly remind them to slow down their movements, push through the right foot, shift more of my weight to the left. Definitely when the shoulder blade comes around, I want to bring that shoulder blade out of the way. I want to take my elbow more, energize it towards the ceiling, work around the shoulder blade. What do you see? What do you feel around the vertebral border or the inside edge of the shoulder blade? Sit my hips down. There's a great spot. Here's where we get into the knots that people like to say. Shear, shear, 3 to 5 times. Definitely want to wing the arm in and out here. If that's uncomfortable, maybe there's shoulder challenges, that's uncomfortable to be that high, they can just bend the elbow and rest their fingertips on the shoulder and make little circles, move that around. That's more the glenohumeral joint, totally, right? And then I'm gonna rest, reset my hips. Clearly my roller is, I'd be off the stage by now. My roller moved way out. I'm gonna sit my hips down, come back to where I started, but I'm up towards the shoulder blades, lift them, push through the left foot, now I'm working the right side. Remember, when you get up to the shoulder blade, if I leave my elbow out wide, my shoulder blade is blocking a lot of stuff, like I'm shortening all that tissue. I'm gonna bring the elbow around and energize it towards the ceiling so that I can sit my hip down and do my shears a little more effectively. Direct shear here, stop, maybe wing the arm in and out. Again, these are those little knots, little tender places. Your glides are to find the tender places so you know where to shear. So 3 to 5 of each of your shears is enough. You can even compress and wait, take a breath here. Come back to center, reset your feet. I'm gonna work all the way to the top. Lift my hips a little, find my core, get my curve going, and then glide up and down. Now, obviously I can't go any higher than this. You don't work your neck by working on the neck. All right, I'm gonna push into my right foot, get a little more to the upper part of my shoulder blade, bring my elbow around for a couple shears, or glides rather, sit my hips down, and then here's my shear. Find my curve, push my rib or push that area into the roller, and just my little baby twist. Wing the arm in and out. We can add that indirect shear, maybe reach the arm in and out. And always thinking in this shear, you're pinning the superficial layer, and can you get anything else moving, right? And then reset your feet, come back to the center. We gotta work the other side. Up and down, shift my weight to the right by pushing through the left, up and down, find you a little place, sit the hips down, find your curve again, push that spot into the roller, pin that tissue, so you're glued, your skin is glued to the roller, and then think about your ribs or the bony structures on the inside, massaging, shearing, layers off of layers. Then I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna add winging my arm in and out. Definitely gonna add reaching my arm here across my body. Just move it around. Your body will tell you where you wanna go with that. Right? But we're not trying to fix pain by causing pain. It just feels good, but it's not painful. And then take a breath, compress and wait. Come back to center. We'll do a really fancy way of getting ourselves back to upright. Bring your feet as close as you can to your hips, and then slowly just do one big push to bring yourself back up to seated. And that's the back. All right, now we're gonna go to our side ribs. So you think about the side ribs is serratus anterior. So our protraction muscle that keeps us all protracted forward. The serratus, if you think about anatomy again, the serratus is inside the ribs, interlaces into the intercostals and the side ribs, wraps around and attaches to the vertebral border on the front of the scapula. So when it's tight, it's pulling you around just like that. We're gonna work the side ribs. As we work up closer to the armpit, you'll notice, remember what muscles are up here. You've got the latissimus dorsi up here. You've got teres major, teres minor. You can work a little more into the back of the shoulder blade, back of the scapula, into your rotator cuff muscles. We can get real precise on all of those. Right now, I'm gonna show you just the side ribs. So more of the work is gonna be done from the true side around to the front. So we're gonna be working this area. We're not gonna really work like rolling back. We just did that, right? Okay, here we go. We're gonna take our roller, we're gonna lay down right at the same spot, right at the mid rib wall, right where women would identify as their sports bra. I'm gonna keep my knees bent. I'm gonna lay down on the roller. Now, you might find that having some real precision to invite people to put their forearm, their upper arm on the roller to get into this position. A lot of people are gonna be flat on top of the roller. That's fine if that's what they're gonna do to get started. But before you start your action, we're gonna relax down in it. Just think, if you were trying to go to sleep, and it puts you at an angle on the back side of the roller. The rest of your body, if you're on your hip, we're gonna shift our hips back and get more on the thigh, right? Now there's a couple ways to do this. Not a lot of people have a neural pathway enough to be able to move their upper body like I'm doing right now. So a good cueing might be that you're gonna do a little crunch action and get the roller moving up a couple ribs at a time, right? That might be a good cue, relaxing their neck. Another good cue, if that's not working so well for people, is to open up this back leg. Let the arm come up a little bit more and think about doing a little bit of that same crunch, but they can do it more by pushing with the leg. They can push and pull with the leg if that crunch action doesn't work so well, right? So that's another way that you can cue people to do this. And then as we work up higher, one of the easier ways that I have found is thinking about the ribs. I invite them to lift the ribs up, that does put them flat on the roller, and let the ribs come back down. Lift the ribs up, and then the ribs come back down. Anything to get the roller moving up and down in this area, right? So those are all just ways you can do it. Real time, it looks like this. So bring the roller back down to where we started. I'm gonna be in my crunch, and you can invite them to go up. We gotta get the roller moving up and down and turn a little bit. So I'm rolling my body, my upper body just a little bit. I mean, we're only moving a couple inches and I'm trying to stay on my ribs. I can take this top hand if I wanna roll my body back a little bit to get to the true side. And then I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna make sure my ribs are at an angle, not on top of the roller. And I'm gonna try to shear a little bit back and forth. If that's too tender, I can slowly log roll, just relaxing my head and my hand. I can log roll my body back and forth. And if you did that right, the roller moved up, right? It moved up to where I can take my arm on the next side up and over the roller. So I'm gonna extend my top arm out above the roller, my bottom arm down below the roller, get off of my hip and be more on my thigh. Now I'm gonna be truly into serratus tissue. So I'm right here now, but I'm gonna roll down towards the breast tissue. So ladies, you gotta get the breast tissue out of the way. Yep, hands are down. And you might even think about here that I'm pushing between my hands. I can push a little bit with this hand. Be mindful that the top hand, if you actually actively push, you're gonna be contracting your lat. Do it wrong to do it right. If you contract, it lifts you up. We're trying to be relaxed. Maybe it's easier to rest your head in your hand up here. But we're trying to go up and down, turn a little. My preference always is to do my hands, push through my hands, up and down and turn a little. If you want to get your legs straight, this part doesn't matter as long as you are getting the action of rolling up and down, right? If it's not painful, you can do your shears back and forth, pinning the skin. I'm at an angle, not on top, back and forth. I can slowly log roll here. So we were working low, we just moved up, right? Just a couple inches. You'll notice when you bring your sternum, your chest towards the ground, that's where you're truly into the meat of your serratus. And that should feel very special and spicy and whatever other word you can think of.
That's an ooh la la.
An ooh la la, Bonnie says. All right, now my arm is extended and the roller has moved up. Can you tell that you were on some lats when I roll my body back a little bit? And on the side of my shoulder blade, so I can take my arm up and over, working a little bit of rotator cuff issues. I can bring my arms back. I'm advancing up here, right? I'm now not on the rib. I'm gonna think about rolling my body back. Maybe you invite them to open their leg up. And I'm truly on my shoulder blade right now. Truly on my shoulder blade. So I can feel teres major, teres minor. We do not foam roll. Remember, you're gonna up and down, and you can't see probably real well in the video right now, but I am moving like a millimeter each time because the shoulder blade is a smaller surface area. Now I'm gonna pin the tissue. I can log roll on just the shoulder blade. I'm literally just on the back of my shoulder blade, right? I can wing the arm again. I can move it different directions on whatever you feel is the best for you. And then I can compress and wait. Take a breath, and then push up with that bottom hand. Oh, this whole side will feel much longer than the other side right now if you did it well. All right, from this position, we're gonna go to the arm. So we spoke of earlier today that the pec major muscle in anatomical position, the palm is turned out, so the arm is rolled out like this. Pec muscle comes out and attaches onto the humerus. So when we are doing the upper arm, I want to make sure that you cue and remember to keep the collarbone wide, right? So my arm, upper arm is glued to my side ribs. I'm gonna then lay down on the roller. Totally fine if people are flat to start to get off their hip and all the things. But before we begin, we want to relax down to where we're at an angle on the roller. Compensating things here. People will want to fold in. Now I'm on the back of my arm. That's not what we're doing. People will want to collapse down. They're still on the side, but they're collapsing their shoulder blade, their shoulders up in their ear. The collarbone is all squished. The pecs are all squished. We want to stay broad in this side. Now, could you fold down with this arm if you need to, if your head is heavy, but not necessary. But if you do, this side can't collapse down. Okay, now let's go real time. We'll go real time. So arm is glued to the side. I'm gonna hold the roller, lay my upper arm down. I'm starting at the lower part of the deltoid where the little indentation is. So the top third of the arm. And I'm gonna think about bringing that same action. Maybe it's a crunch, maybe it's a rib lift. And I'm gonna lift to where the roller goes all the way to the top of my shoulder. And then I'm gonna push up back into the roller and then turn a little bit. I'm gonna pull back, I'm gonna push up into the roller and turn a little bit. But I'm staying open, right? I'm working from the outside of my arm at the deltoid, from the middle delt to the anterior delt. Pull up and push up into the roller. Pull up and push up into the roller. Pull back, I should say, and then up into the roller. Working my way back to where I started. So you see my collarbone staying long and open. Now I'm gonna shear. If pinning the tissue and shearing back and forth is too much for you, we have the log roll, pinning the skin, and just rolling from middle to anterior delt and back to middle. Maybe pull back a little bit so the roller goes towards the top of the humerus bone, more where your rotator cuff attachments are all around the head of the humerus. You'll also notice you're staying at an angle, not on the top, that you're getting a little joint mobilization into that ball and socket joint. So I'm just rolling back and forth. If I want to work deeper, this is a lovely one. I'm going to move my arm out of the way so you can see. You might want to keep your arm out here in front of you, but for purposes for you to learn and see, I'm going to bend my elbow. So I'm pinning the tissue. I'm on the back side of the roller and I'm just gliding my arm out and bringing the arm back. Pinning superficial layers, moving underneath. That is lovely, but it's not painful. I might come out to where I've got a good shear force here, and then I'm gonna internally rotate and open it back up. And internally rotate and open it back up. And internally rotate and open it back up. Maybe do one more little log roll for good measure. Take a breath. And I'm glad I'm done with that arm. Now we're gonna do it on the other side.